Check this out. So we've got this file right here, and at first glance, it honestly looks like a completely normal image because it has a JPG extension, something we usually associate with regular picture files. Now, if someone saw this sitting on their computer, the first thing they'd probably do is just double-click it and open it without thinking twice. Exactly like I did here. I mean, no one really suspects an innocent-looking image file, right? And as you can see, it actually opens up an image, which makes the victim believe that it's just a standard picture and absolutely nothing more. Everything looks normal on the surface. But here's where things start to get interesting. If I right-click on this file and go to Properties, you can clearly see that it's not just an image at all. It's actually a Windows executable. That means there's something completely different happening behind the scenes. Now, if I switch over to my Discord server, you'll notice something new appearing in this channel. That's information coming directly from the computer that ran the file. In other words, the moment the file was opened, a connection was established. And at this point, I basically have full access to that system. If I type any Windows command here, let's just say this one as an example, you can see the output show up instantly. That's complete remote control in real time. From here, I can pretty much do whatever I want on that machine. And this right here is exactly how attackers are able to gain access to someone's system, simply by tricking them into running something that looks harmless and familiar. And realistically speaking, most people aren't going to go out of their way to check the properties of every single file they open. That's just not how people normally use their computers. Now, inside my Discord server, I can actually pull up a list of modules, basically small built-in tools that are each designed to perform a specific task on the machine. For example, I can run a regular system command and immediately see the output right here in the channel. I can list all the directories on the system, upload files directly to the machine, or even download custom files from it. There's also a module that can quickly capture a screenshot of the desktop and send it back within seconds, all without the user noticing anything unusual. On top of that, there are modules designed to collect sensitive browser data, log keystrokes, and even maintain persistence, so that if the computer gets restarted, the access doesn't just disappear, it stays active in the background. And that's what really makes something as simple as a disguised image file so powerful. On the outside, it looks completely harmless and ordinary, but underneath, it can open the door to full system control. And that's exactly why it's so dangerous. The way this malware works is actually pretty simple. First, we obviously need the malware itself, a basic payload. So I went ahead and wrote one in Go. You can see part of the code on your screen right now. What this malware does is use a Discord server as its command and control server. As you can see in the code, we have the bot token, the channel ID, and even the allowed user ID specified there. We'll take a closer look at how something like this is built in a bit, but before that, if I scroll further down in the code, you'll notice several protection mechanisms. There's an anti-debug check function, along with sandbox detection and even a virtual machine detection function. Basically, these checks try to determine whether the binary is being run on Windows and whether the environment is being analyzed, debugged, or executed inside a sandbox or VM. If it detects anything suspicious, it can change its behavior accordingly. Now, when I compile this Go code, it generates a binary file. I can't say for sure how stealthy it is in every scenario, but here's something interesting. I created this binary about 2 days ago, and I've run it multiple times, even after restarting my computer a couple of times, and it's still there. Windows Defender hasn't removed it. In many cases, Defender quickly logs a file hash when it detects something suspicious, quarantines the process, and deletes the binary. But in this case, it's still present even though my system is fully updated and Defender is actively running, as I can show you here. Anyway, I'll dig deeper into that aspect later, but today's video isn't specifically about bypassing Defender. So as you can see, here's the compiled binary. If I double click and run it, it immediately sends a message to the Discord channel showing that a connection has been established. And up here in the corner, you can also see that the bot is now online. It was offline before we executed the binary. That tells us the connection is live. Now, once a hacker has a binary like this, they don't necessarily have to distribute it as a plain executable file. They can disguise it, maybe bundle it with an image file, a video, or some other file that looks harmless. For example, here on my desktop, I have this binary along with a simple cat image. What we can do next is create what's called an SFX archive. I've mentioned this in another video before. SFX stands for Self-Extracting Archive. Basically, it's a compressed file that can extract its contents automatically without requiring a separate decompression tool. This makes it a convenient and potentially deceptive way to package and execute files. So I've got two files here. I'm going to select both of them, right-click, and add them to an archive. In the archiving options, I'll choose to create an SFX archive. You'll notice the archive name automatically changes, but you can rename it to whatever you want. Just make sure to keep the .exe extension. Next, go to the Advanced tab, click on SFX options, and then head over to Setup. In this input box, we need to type the names of the files we want to run. I want the image file to open first, so I'll type the name of the image file, and then on the next line, I'll enter the name of the executable. After that, in the Mode section, I'll select the option to unpack everything into a temporary folder. Under Silent Mode, I'll choose Hide All so nothing is shown while the files are being extracted. In the Update section, I'll enable the required option, and under Overwrite Mode, I'll select Overwrite All Files. If you want to use a custom icon or logo, you can go to that section and choose an icon file, but I'm going to skip that for now to save time. Once everything is set, just click OK, then OK again, and it will generate a new file. Attackers sometimes use techniques like the RTLO character to disguise file extensions, but we're not doing that here. Now, if I double-click this file, it opens the image as expected. But behind the scenes, it has also established a connection. As you can see, I've received a connection in my Discord channel. If I run this command, it adds persistence, and you can see the confirmation message right there. That means even if I shut down and restart the computer, the access remains. That's essentially how persistence works. Anyway, that's all I have for this video. Like I said earlier, we can't realistically check the properties of every single file we open, but we can be careful about what we download. Avoid downloading files from untrusted sources, and if you do download something, make sure to check its properties and verify it thoroughly before running it. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay safe.